So, good afternoon, one and all. Our leadership team from Manipal University, Jaipur, President Professor G.K. Prabhu, Pro-President Professor N. Sharma, Registrar Professor H. Ravi Shankar Kamath, our very distinguished panel members, Secretary SERB Professor Sandeep Verma, and Anchor DD National and Technical Education Expert Professor Puneet Sharma. We are also expecting our Chief Guest, AICT Chairman Professor Anil Shahasrabudhe to join us. And till now, we have nearly 940 participants who have already registered. So I welcome you all to the webinar on Education for Generation Z, the first webinar in the Leadership Webinar Series. The idea behind the webinar has been conceived by our Pro-President, Professor N. Sharma, and is being organized by Directorate of Admissions, Manipal University, Jaipur. We would like to begin today's program on an auspicious note by listening to Saraswati Vandana.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा विचारसार परमा आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनीं वीणापुस्तकधारिणीम् अभयदा जाड्यान्धकारापहा हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधतीं पद्मासने संस्थितां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्।
हमें पूरी आशा है कि सरस्वती जी हमारे साथ हैं, उनका आशीर्वाद हमारे साथ है। और इसके साथ ही I now invite our President Professor G.K. Prabhu to welcome the gathering and say a few words about our university. Please.
Okay, so good afternoon once again, and I welcome all of you for this very important webinar, the Education for the Generation Z. And this is the new initiative of the Manipal University, Jaipur, on the Leadership Webinar Series. So again, we have a guest, the Professor Anil D. Shahasrabudhe, the Chairman of All India Council for Technical Education. On behalf of Manipal University and all of us here, I have a great pleasure to welcome him. And we also have Professor Sandeep Verma ji, and he is the Secretary, Science and Engineering Research Board. So he is with us, and we will also, it is also our pleasure to welcome Professor Sandeep Verma ji on behalf of the Manipal University. And we will be keen to listen to you on this particular topic, and especially on the research activities of the university and how a young university like us that we need to move. And we also have Professor Puneet Sharma is an anchor for Doordarshan National and also is a technical education expert. Is a very close friend of Manipal University and Jaipur, and it is a very well known, especially in this belt, and conducted many activities, especially on the higher education and the new initiatives and the way in which the new universities have to move. So again, once again, on behalf of Manipal University, I have a great pleasure to welcome Professor Puneet Sharma ji. And yes, this is the new initiative as we told, and this is the brainchild of our Pro-President, Professor N.N. Sharma ji. So he's very active and also taken many new activities under the university. So I also have a great pleasure to welcome Professor N.N. Sharma. And this whole activity, we thought that the Directorate of Admission has initiated, and also have all my colleague friends from Manipal University, both from the faculty, staff and students. And I believe there are a large number of people who are also listening to that on this particular webinar, and also have some opportunity to also to interact with us. So once again, on behalf of Manipal University, Jaipur, I have a great pleasure to welcome all the audience of this important leadership webinar series. And being this is the first one. And about Manipal University, Jaipur, in brief, yes, we launched this university in 2011. So we are a 9 years old institution, and with a moderate strength of 200 odd that we have started this particular university in 2011 with the engineering, and today we have nearly about 8,000 students in this campus, spread in 5 different faculties and also in 60 different educational program, including both undergraduate and post-graduation. So it is not only the academic program, we have also launched our research program at the early stage. I am very happy to inform that more than 500 research scholars are also working under all these faculty, different faculty, and many new initiatives as well as the new scholarship schemes are also being given for the student. I am very happy to inform there are more than 480 faculty members are also working in the university, nearly 75% of them with the terminal degree of PhD, including many of them, they also have the postdoctoral experience. And and this university, when we started, we wanted to do it slightly differently. So the first thing what we thought that we will develop this physical infrastructure, and it must be again state of the art. And this is the first ever an educational or university campus which is the LEED Platinum certified. So it is a green initiative. So what we really wanted to give a message to all the people, including the student as well as for the employee, that when they study here, they must also have a feel about what is the green campus and how that we have to take our the environment, and how a particular the cost-effective green campus can also be done. So this is something with that initiative which we have started, and over the years we got many accolades as well as the rewards, especially on this area. And this would be the one of the most beautiful campuses in the North India. And apart from that, there is a lot of thrust so which is given on the teaching learning. Just to highlight one of the practices that we have done recently is we have done something which is called as a curriculum conclave. And in this curriculum conclave, see, every university looks for the change of the curriculum. And in a particular specified period, we look for a major change in the curriculum. But when we do this major change, we did it slightly differently. We called all the stakeholders, whether it is students in the campus, the freshly passed out alumni, the regulatory bodies, the faculty, the industry, experts, and other international university partners. And we had a 2 days and deliberation. What would be the best curriculum for MUJ? And this is this deliberation which we did it. And of course, under the frame of the guidelines which is given by the regulatory body, so whether it is UGC, whether it is AICT, whether it is a Bar Council of India or Architecture Council, so we took all of them together and decided which would be the best curriculum, and this we called as a curriculum conclave. And with all the inputs and the suggestion, recommendation, the guidelines given by everyone, we started a new curriculum, and with this new batch we started in 2011. So which is a very, very well accepted by all the stakeholders, whether it is our faculty to deliver, the students to accept, and the industries which are very important. And similarly, there are many new initiatives. We also thought that while doing the teaching and curriculum, outside the curriculum, there is a lot of learning which happens. So we also gave some kind of an emphasis for the student clubs and the team effort, whether there is a students can also do some kind of a research, and for which there we are giving some kind of an incentives. So with all those things for an holistic development, so that initiative which is being taken, and then we thought that okay, let us test our quality, for which we have applied for the NAC. And in the recent, in the February with the new guidelines, so we were so happy and very pleased to inform you at this juncture that we got the NAC A+ grade. So with the 3.28 as the CGPA. And this is something which really made us to motivate and then move forward. And we were the first university in Rajasthan to get this NAC A+ grade. But we don't want to be only one university. So we want many of the other universities must also do that. And wherever there is a support in interaction, we would be very happy to share our experience so that many of these educational institutions must also do better. So that will also give. So it is not only the competition, but it is also collaborative mechanism that which we are doing it. So whether it is a teaching learning, whether it is a research, whether there is an internationalization, so whether it is an alumni relations, so whether there is an industry placement, so many things that which we are doing because of the holistic development of that. So I'm very happy and thankful for all my faculty for providing that kind of very collaborative environment for the teaching learning. So with this brief introduction, once again I have a great pleasure to welcome all of you. And when AICT Chairman Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe joins again, we'll take a small break. We welcome once again him and take it to the board. But since there are many other people are also waiting on the live, so we thought that we will initiate. And now I hand over again to Neetu so that you can put the process in place, and we would be very happy to listen to this webinar. Basically, it's a leadership webinar series, and today's topic and the theme is education for Generation G. And this is a very, very exciting, and considering the situation of COVID-19, this takes a very important role. I am excited to listen to the experts and hope that you will also enjoy this whole session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now for the much awaited webinar on education for Generation Z, I request Professor Puneet Sharma to start the panel discussion with our distinguished speakers.
Thank you very much, Neetaji. After this lockdown, we are now back to new normal. So we need to explore what is new normal. This COVID compulsive break has affected severely all aspects of life, be it human being, be it nature, industries, economy, worldwide. So everybody during this lockdown time, we were exploring our inner soul, inner self, inner thought process. So to begin with today's session, education for Generation Z. So, Professor Sandeep Verma, so you have been a teacher, great teacher at IIT Kanpur, and teacher has always been torchbearer, be it the time of Gurukuls, Takshila, Nalanda. So after this lockdown, Roshni अब आपसे ही शुरू होगी. So Generation Z या Generation Z कहें या Gen Z कहें, जो लोग 90 के दशक में पैदा हुए, यानी कि अब शुरुआत कर चुके हैं अपने कॉलेज लाइफ की या थोड़े समय में शुरू करने वाले होंगे. हम मूलतः उन्हें डिफाइन करते हैं कि जो लोग इंटीग्रल पार्ट है उनका मोबाइल, रोटी, कपड़ा, मकान और मोबाइल, जिनकी मूलभूत आवश्यकताएं हैं. So, how do you see the impact of this COVID-19 as an opportunity or as a crisis? Might be we have, all of a sudden we have taken a leap of next 10-15 years, जो शायद 15-20 साल बाद हम ग्रेजुएट प्रोसेस से शुरू करते हैं और वो अचानक से स्पीड ब्रेकर आया और हमने एक डाइव ली और 15 साल आगे पहुंच गए. How do you see this COVID-19 for education sector as an opportunity or as a crisis?
So let me begin by thanking the Manipal University Jaipur for hosting this wonderful webinar. Right, it's an issue that concerns all of us. It's an issue that is really live, and we have to grapple with the situation. So I'm very happy that Vice Chancellor Sir has set the stage. He has elaborated many points that are necessary for us to imagine when we go about charting our way through this crisis, and it is not unknown to all of us. So when Professor Puneet Sharma approached me, I was quite excited because this is the second time we were interacting, and it was a topic that I was quite excited about. So I thought that we will have a nice conversation, we'll have a good discussion. So to begin with, let me start by saying that COVID-19, as we all understand, is something that has never been seen in our lifetime. Most of us who have a living memory of epidemics, living memory of hardships, we would have never imagined in the wildest of our imagination that such a situation would come where entire globe or all these countries would come to standstill. The work, the life cycle, the daily routine which we are very used to, our travel, our correspondences, our interactions, meeting, everything came to standstill. And of course, if you look at academics in this particular crisis situation, it is one of the worst affected. If you were to go by the UNICEF numbers that have been provided to us, they say that close to 1.6 billion youngsters, students, their academic life has been disrupted because of this epidemic. So you can imagine the magnitude of the situation, 1.6 billion. And if you add young researchers, if you add young faculty who have just started their career, who were so excited to come back to India, for example, India, right? Who were excited to come back to India or who were excited to go from India to a foreign country to start their research, everything has come to standstill. So if you were to add all of them up, we are looking closely to 1/4 of the population, entire global population that is affected, especially from the standpoint of academics. So this is really the crisis, Puniti. We are looking at the crisis that has disrupted the future, the aspirations of a Generation Z, if you will, which is really the foundation of what we are going to see in next 50 years, right? So they are the ones who will be the nexus of what good that is going to happen. So if I were to look at this situation, the crisis is now known to all of us. Now we are looking at opportunities. Where are the opportunities? Opportunities are more or less not just opportunities, but also responsibility. Like Vice Chancellor Sir said, that academician, I also consider myself not only as a science administrator, but also as an IIT professor, that it lies that we must be, or हमें तैयार रहना है to provide opportunity to these youngsters. So इस crisis में भी अगर हम opportunities create कर पाएं to impart the best quality education that they deserve. Just because epidemic आ गया है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हम अपने मापदंड को कम कर लें. हमारे जो शैक्षिक मापदंड हैं वो उतने ही रहेंगे या उससे ऊपर जाने चाहिए. They deserve it and the opportunities is that now नई educational technologies को use करके we should be able to impart the education which they deserve, which they richly deserve. And आप सोच सकते हैं न जाने कितने सालों की तैयारी जो इस समय क्लास 12th में है, जो यूनिवर्सिटी में एडमिशन चाहते हैं, कितने सालों की तैयारी के बाद वो प्रतीक्षा कर रहे थे कि इम्तिहान खत्म होंगे, एग्जाम्स देंगे, कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स देंगे और एक कॉलेज कैरियर शुरू होगा, which is really stepping stone into the wild world of sort of our life, right? So, but I just want to make one point, especially for universities and university administrators, that why we are very focused to Generation Z. एक चीज मेरे जहन में आई है और हम इस पे emphasize करना चाहते हैं कि we should not forget about people who are at middle management, because इस economic downturn से a lot of changes will come in job prospects. So many people, और हमारे बहुत सी population ऐसी होगी, अगर हम सिर्फ भारतीय population को ले ले, जो इस उम्र में भी 40-45 साल की उम्र में भी they would like to learn something new so that they can make themselves available for the challenges, because they have to raise a family. They still have good 10-20 years to go. So this whole discussion should be focused on Generation Z, लेकिन उसमें आप मिलेनियल्स को और उसमें आप हम जैसे लोगों को मत भूल जाइए जो नई ट्रेनिंग चाहते हैं. आई थिंक मैच्योर पॉपुलेशन को भी हम इंक्लूड करेंगे जैसे जैसे हम डिस्कस करते जाएंगे. ओवर टू यू पुनीत.
Very well said, sir. Skilling and upskilling are integral part of life. And as you said that for every teacher will admit this, that learning is an ongoing and continuous process. Till the time we are alive, सांसें जब तक चल रही तब तक सीखना और सिखाना दोनों चीजें लगातार चलती रहती है. आई एम श्योर हमें से बहुत सारे लोगों ने जो अभी कंप्यूटर इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ा रहे हैं या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स पढ़ा रहे हैं या मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ा रहे हैं, बहुत सारे जो नए साइबर फिजिक्स से रिलेटेड जो सब्जेक्ट्स डेवलप हुए हैं, लाइक AI, machine learning, IoT and all. So might be we have never studied in our college days, but through attempting it, a learning process, now we can teach. So coming back to the point that right from beginning हम human evolution process को अगर समझे, चाहे वो पहिया हो, रथ का आविष्कार हो या फिर डार्विन्स थियरी हो, आवश्यकता आविष्कार की जननी होती है. So right from ancient time, research and innovation have been integral part of life. आज हम जो भी चीज देख रहे हैं वो initially invention रहा होगा और फिर subsequently उसके versions आते गए और हमने innovations adapt करते गए. Whatever things we are, चाहे स्टीम इंजन से आज हम आईसी इंजन और इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग देख रहे हैं, जो आपने कहा हमें मिलेनियम और जेन एक्स को नहीं भूलना चाहिए. अगर स्टीम इंजन नहीं होता तो निश्चित बात है कि आज बैटरी ऑपरेटेड या इलेक्ट्रिकल व्हीकल्स की परिकल्पना संभव ही नहीं हो पाती. सो टुमारो इज लाइंग ऑन टुडे. सो आज जो है वो ही कल बनेगा. सो हाउ रिसर्च एंड इनोवेशन कल्चर कैन बी आवर इंटीग्रल वे ऑफ लाइफ, बिकॉज कॉलेज में हम बाद में जाते हैं, उसकी फाउंडेशन सबसे पहले थॉट्स की यहाँ शुरुआत में स्कूल में, घर में, परिवार में, समाज में हो चुकी होती है. So just to attain whatever is necessary for tomorrow, that is making research and innovation an integral part of life. Over to Professor Verma.
So when you talk about research and innovation, एक चीज हमको it's clear to us. I mean हम सभी लोगों को ये clear है जो लोग इस areas में काम करते हैं कि without being an active researcher, without being a good researcher, without working on the cutting edge, आप अच्छे टीचर नहीं हो सकते. आज के परिवेश में आज जिस थर्स्ट के साथ यंग स्टूडेंट्स कॉलेज में एडमिशन लेते हैं, where they are exposed not only to their curriculum because of various societal pressures when they are appearing for exams, और उनके अपने इंटरेस्ट से भी they are reading lot of things, so they are knowledgeable, they are looking forward to new set of knowledge. और अगर आप आज के परिवेश में बोले कि ये बुक है, ये नोट्स हैं और हम ये पढ़ेंगे, that is not sufficient. And for us to be a good teacher, it is important that we have to be good researcher, because जब हम research करते हैं, जब हम innovate करते हैं, with whatever philosophy or with whatever subject that is close to our heart, close to our research interest, हम उसको अपनी टीचिंग में भी ब्लेंड करने का प्रयास करते हैं. तो ये जो रिसर्च इनोवेशन और टीचिंग या रिसर्च इनोवेशन और यूनिवर्सिटीज अंडर ग्रेजुएट करिकुलम ये डिसोसिएटेड नहीं है. दे आर ऑल पार्ट ऑफ अ सिस्टम दैट इज सो वेल एंट्रेंच्ड इनटू आवर डेली रूटीन, इनटू आवर sort of attitude that comes in. and इसमें 2 पॉइंट्स, अगर आप इसको देखें कैसे रिसर्च और इनोवेशन ब्लेंड होता है एजुकेशन में. जब आप अच्छे रिसर्चर हैं तब आप अच्छा पढ़ाते हैं, बिकॉज कोई भी टॉपिक आप पढ़ा रहे हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल आप अगर स्टीम इंजन के बारे में बता रहे हैं, दैट हाउ स्टीम क्रिएट्स एनर्जी और कैसे उस एनर्जी से हम मैकेनिकल मोशन मिलता है, कैसे हमको गति मिलती है एक स्टीम इंजन की. नाउ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट वेरी मेनी एस्पेक्ट्स of physics, very many aspects of allied disciplines. और ये हो सकता है अगर आप इस एरिया में रिसर्च कर रहे हैं, if you are working in steam engines and if you just want to get motion in an engine, तो फिर आपको लगता है क्या हम बैटरी से ये अचीव कर सकते हैं, क्या हम इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जैसे इलेक्ट्रिक इंजन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से अचीव कर सकते हैं, क्या सोलर एनर्जी को हम कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं इंजन में, बायोडीजल. सो ऑल दीज नेचुरल क्वेश्चंस दैट कम नेचुरली टू यू व्हेन यू आर डूइंग रिसर्च. एंड जब आप किसी भी एरिया में काम कर रहे हैं तो उन टॉपिक्स को आप क्लास में, हालांकि वो हो सकता है उस उम्र के बच्चे इसको अप्रिशिएट ना कर पाए, लेकिन अगर 100 बच्चे में से एक बच्चे को भी लगा कि वाह अगर इसको बैटरी के साथ किया गया तो व्हाट इज रॉन्ग विद सोलर, लेट मी ट्राई विद सोलर. अगर सोलर के साथ किया गया सो व्हाट इज रॉन्ग विद हाइब्रिड, लेट अस थिंक ऑफ ए biodiesel solar hybrid. So these are natural questions when you bring in research philosophies into classroom that ignites imagination of young student. फिर उसको हम आगे मोल्ड कर सकते हैं. So ये 2-3 philosophies है. और जो third philosophy है वो ये है कि innovation classrooms में लाने से आज आप देख रहे हैं कि major institutions में worldwide, अभी जैसे सर ने बोला कि NUJ 9 साल पुराने इंस्टीट्यूशन है, लेकिन कोई 200 साल पुराने इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, 150 साल पुराने इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं जहाँ ये कल्चर आ चुका है कि अंडर ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट्स पढ़ने के बाद दे बिकम नॉट जॉब सीकर, दे ऑलमोस्ट बिकम जॉब क्रिएटर्स. वो अपने स्टार्टअप शुरू करते हैं आइडियाज से, अपनी कंपनीज लगाने का प्रयास करते हैं. तो ये आइडियाज कैसे आएंगे जब उनका गुरु, जब उनका टीचर हु दे लुक अप टू is able to tell them what is latest in knowledge domain, what is latest, what they can translate. So ये 2-3 major points हैं which sort of tells us, which also sort of tell us that research, innovation or education या curriculum, they have to go hand in hand. There is no chance anymore that you separate out in compartments and hope that you are still going to do okay. That's not possible anymore. Back to you, Puneet.
भारत एक ऐसा देश है जहां हम कोई भी व्यवस्था संस्कृति के तौर पर सीखते हैं, चाहे सुबह जल्दी उठ के प्रेयर करना हो, योग एक्सरसाइज करना हो, खान पान हो. We evolve through cultural system, not through logic, not through science. So that is in our DNA. अगर हम देखें कि हमारे गाँव में जो मेले बने हैं उनकी डिजाइनिंग बड़े साइंटिफिक तरीके से बनी हुई है. फसल कटने के बाद में उसको इंट्रोड्यूस किया जाता है एम्यूजमेंट के बतौर, आपने कुछ इनकम अर्न किया है, सो आपकी मॉल कल्चर पूरी उस मेले में है, वहां से आप एनुअल शॉपिंग करते हैं. सो दिस इज इन आवर डीएनए दैट वी अंडरस्टैंड थ्रू एनी कॉन्सेप्ट थ्रू कल्चरली. So how to develop a culture of research and innovation in education institutions, especially higher education, right? So colleges, like we expect that they are to teach. They are not for research. Universities and premier institutions like IITs, they are research institutions. But as of now, the way Niti Aayog has developed tinkering labs, so catch them young is the philosophy, right? So the early we start, it is better to cultivate them. So especially when it comes to college education level or university level, how to establish this culture of research and innovation in a formal manner?
So it's an excellent question because जब हम universities बना रहे हैं, राइट, हम जब यूनिवर्सिटी शुरू कर रहे हैं, और जबकि स्पेशली फॉर यंगर यूनिवर्सिटीज इट इज एक्सट्रीमली इम्पोर्टेंट कि छोटे से छोटा स्टेप जो हम इनिशिएट करते हैं रिसर्च कल्चर डेवलप करने के लिए, इट शुड नॉट बी लुक डाउन अपॉन. सी फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपको हम बताते हैं कि जैसे ब्राजील का एग्जाम्पल है, दे स्टार्टेड विद समथिंग वेरी सिंपल व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज रिसर्च कैफेज, राइट. So we know of Coffee Day and these coffee places where we go to unwind, right? They started these research cafes जहाँ पर आप और भी जगह पर कि जहाँ पर आप जाते हैं unwind करने के लिए, but at the backdrop what you are essentially seeing is the research discussions going on. लोग रिसर्च के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, more than one discipline के लोग साथ में बैठ के डिस्कस कर रहे हैं अपने एरियाज के बारे में. You never know, that kind of culture, that kind of intermingling of ideas, personalities and diverse professions in one location can lead to interdisciplinarity. So पहला ये है कि कोई भी step है which allows the ideas to flourish, a university should support it. So even छोटे से छोटा initiative, they should study it well, they should think about it, how it can be sharpened a bit, and उसके बाद उसको execute करना चाहिए. That is point one which I would like to make. Second one is that you have to have support system. For example, किसी faculty को अच्छा research करने का idea है, of course we realize that आजकल बहुत research equipment driven है. Millions of dollars के equipments हैं. Universities at times are not able to create all facilities in one shot. So हमको ये देखना है कि कैसे आप slowly research infrastructure develop कर सकते हैं. By the time you are developing research infrastructure, are you able to connect to better endowed institutions? Could you have hand-holding in the early phases when you are trying to develop these research ideas? कि उन ideas को लेके आप अपने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को लेके प्लस आपका हैंड होल्डिंग इंस्टीट्यूशन अगर है उसको आप लेकर के, if you can bring all of them talk together, work together, and this entire ecosystem can be lifted so that something substantial can be achieved. तो ये एक आइडिया है. और आइडिया है कि जैसे आज अभी वाइस चांसलर सर ने बताया कि आपने फैकल्टी हायर किए फ्रॉम CGCRI फॉर एग्जाम्पल, from NEERI or Siri Pilani, for example, right? So you need to have role models in your faculty all the time. It is possible कि आपके पास हो सकता है एक या दो role models हो जिनको आप लाएं, dean, as a head who can mentor younger faculty. But it's also possible to have the culture of adjunct professorships. For example, if you know of somebody who's top of the edge technologist in say IIT Delhi or IIT Kanpur, where I come from, you can have them as adjunct professors. So they are your role models. They will tell you, they will nucleate ideas, they will start the ball rolling in research space, or they will sort of tell you what are the opportunities available, research opportunities available at the national level, at international level, and of course through meetings, through conferences, through symposia. Such role models or established researcher can excite younger colleagues in a younger institution to take things forward. So ये तीन चीजें हैं मेरे ज़हन में जिसको आप सोच सकते हैं कि ये दो तीन ideas plus whatever else are the best practices, they could be used to blend in education with research and innovation in an academic institution.
Recently, you have launched a new scheme, Tetra. Could you please throw some light on that? That is quite beneficial for upcoming researchers.
Yeah, so thanks for asking. This is a very new scheme. Actually, Tetra is a scheme launched by my research agency, Science and Engineering Research Board. और हम एक मिनट लेना चाहेंगे बताने के लिए कि साइंस एंड इंजीनियरिंग रिसर्च बोर्ड क्या है. इट इज राइट नाउ इट इज द प्रीमियर फंडिंग एजेंसी ऑफ इंडिया, जहां हम एटम से लेके एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स, लाइफ साइंसेस, इकोलॉजी, मैथमेटिक्स, ऑल ब्रांचेस ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग, सारी रिसर्च को हम सपोर्ट करते हैं. So this is one of the biggest funding agencies right now for basic and applied research within India. So हमने क्या देखा पुरी जी कि जब हम research funding provide करते हैं, so the culmination of a research program, culmination of a research project is publishing papers, training manpower, and creating infrastructure. एक चीज जो हमको which crossed our mind was कि is there anything more to it? Is it possible we can get more out of the investment that we have made in a research project? So for example, एक research project अगर हमने 80 lakhs का दिया है, right? So आपने 5 पेपर छापे, 2 PhD स्टूडेंट्स निकाले और आपने कुछ मशीन्स खरीद के अपने लैबोरेटरी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को थोड़ा ऑगमेंट किया. बट हमने देखा कि अगर फॉर एग्जांपल कोई इन्वेस्टिगेटर इसी पैसे से 1 या 2 पैटेंट्स भी लिखता है 3 साल में, ऐसी रिसर्च करता है which is not known, where you have tremendous application potential, where you have tremendous translational activity that can happen around that particular research. So आप अपने रिसर्च को IPR से प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं और पैटेंट लिखते हैं. यूजुअली क्या होता है SERB प्रोजेक्ट्स में कि आपने पेपर छापा या पैटेंट लिखा एंड ऑफ कोर्स यू पुट इन योर प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट और फाइनल टेक्निकल रिपोर्ट एंड यू आर रेडी टू लॉन्च योर नेक्स्ट प्रोजेक्ट, राइट? 3 साल के बाद आप नया प्रोजेक्ट लिखते हैं. पर हम टेट्रा लेके आए. टेट्रा स्टैंड्स फॉर टेक ट्रांसलेशन अवार्ड. तो टेक ट्रांसलेशन अवार्ड से हमने ये इंफॉर्मेशन या हमने ये मोटिवेशन देने का प्रयास किया है कि अगर आपके पास कोई पैटेंट है जो SERB के प्रोजेक्ट से जनरेट हुआ है, तो SERB विल गिव यू अनरेस्ट्रिक्टेड सम ऑफ मनी. अनरेस्ट्रिक्टेड मींस कि अगर फर्ज कीजिए आपको 20 लाख रुपए दिए, वी विल नॉट टेल यू कि ये 2 लाख ट्रैवल के हैं, ये 5 लाख इक्विपमेंट के हैं, ये 3 लाख मैन पावर के हैं, ये 50,000 कंटिजेंसी के. सो देयर इज नो बाउंड्रीज. तो अगर आपको 20 लाख दिए, यू कैन डू व्हाटएवर यू वांट टू ब्रिंग इन योर पैटर्न टू द नेक्स्ट लेवल ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी रेडीनेस, जो हम TRL लेवल्स कहते हैं, TRL लेवल 5. सो अगर आप TRL लेवल 5 या उसके ऊपर जाना चाहते हैं अपने पैटर्न से जो SERB के द्वारा दिए गए रिसर्च अवार्ड से बना है या उसके थ्रू आया है, सो दैट इज आवर टेट्रा प्रोग्राम एंड वी आर गोइंग टू लॉन्च इट. वी हैव लॉन्च्ड इट और वेरी सून हम उसको ऑनलाइन कर देंगे, जहां पे इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स, SERB इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स हमें दिखा करके कि ये हमारा पैटेंट है, थैंक यू वेरी मच, ये SERB के पैसे से हमने लिया. नाउ वी आर रेडी टू स्टार्ट अ स्टार्टअप. We are ready to talk to an industry to make a prototype, to make a device, and we are ready to jump into the game of translation. तो ये टेट्रा है. And now this is very interesting because आप अगर माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का वक्तव्य सुने कि आत्मनिर्भर भारत, right, startup India, make in India, तो ये टेट्रा becomes one of the very foundational stones of individual PIs जिनके पास पैटेंट है और वो कुछ अलग करना चाहते हैं, वो एक कंपनी स्टार्ट करना चाहते हैं. सो वी विल बी एबल टू प्रोवाइड द मनी. सो इट्स अ वेरी टाइमली क्वेश्चन. आई एम वेरी हैप्पी एंड विथ योर दिस वेबिनार, जो भी हमारे फैकल्टी सुन रहे हैं या जो हमारे एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स सुन रहे हैं, इट शुड बी ऑन देयर इन देयर नॉलेज कि एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम है और इसका प्लीज यूज कीजिए और हमारे वेबसाइट पे जाके कुछ दिनों में आपको फुल डिटेल्स अवेलेबल हो जाए. बैक टू यू प्लीज.
Thank you, Professor Verma, for this wonderful initiative. I am sure under your leadership, more such focused and oriented programs will be made available to the society. And necessary amendments. आपने जो बात कही कि उसमें restriction नहीं है, पैसे की जितनी आवश्यकता है, usually schemes में एक cap होता है. So आकाश छोटा पड़ जाए, आवश्यकताएं तो इतनी है. So जी, सो कमिंग टू नाउ, हर 15 साल में हम देखते हैं कि साइकिल इवॉल्व होती है. हमारी अपनी दिनचर्या, हमारे अपने जीवन चक्र में, हमारे विचारों में भी रोज कुछ ना कुछ परिवर्तन आते हैं. वैसे तो कहा जाता है कि कोई भी विचार जब आप 21 दिन लगातार एक ही तरह से सोचते हैं तो वो आपकी आदत बन जाती है. लेकिन हम जो ये जनरेशन मिलेनियम, जनरेशन एक्स, जनरेशन वाई, जनरेशन जी की डेफिनेशन में बात कर रहे हैं, तो हम ग्राफ देखें तो लगभग 15 साल का एक साइकिल चलता है. अब ऐसे में अलग को गलत मानने लग जाते हैं, चाहे वो पेरेंट्स की बात हो, चाहे सोसाइटी की बात हो या टीचर्स की बात हो. अरे तुम्हें कुछ नहीं आता, अरे ये वर्क नहीं करेगा, तुम्हें कुछ भी नहीं पता, तुमने दुनिया नहीं देखी. इस तरह के शब्द हम बचपन से सुनते आ रहे हैं और वो डेफिनेटली डिस्करेजिंग है. हम ये बात को भूल जाते हैं कि एक शब्द ही संकल्प बनता है. सो शब्दों से जो संकल्प सिद्धि होती है, हम जाने अनजाने में जो भी शब्द हमारे मुंह से निकाल देते हैं वो सबसे पहले हमारे कान में ही जाता है, वो उस प्रोसेसर को अफेक्ट करता है, जो सुन रहा है उसको अफेक्ट करता है. सो दोज वर्ड्स आर वेरी केयरफुली यूज्ड. सो ऐसे में जब अपब्रिंगिंग की बात आती है, हम जनरेशन Z को जब तैयार करने की बात कर रहे हैं, सो व्हाट इज द रियल रोल ऑफ पेरेंट्स, people those who are around a home, I mean society and especially teachers. क्योंकि हम आज मैं जिस भी तरह से कपड़े पहन रहा हूँ वो मैंने निश्चित तौर पर कभी क्लास में मेरे फेवरेट टीचर रहे होंगे. द वे ही यूज्ड टू कंडक्ट, द वे ही यूज्ड टू स्पीक, वो इन्फ्लुएंस सबकॉन्शियसली आता ही. सो हाउ टू मेक अ बैलेंस फॉर द अपब्रिंगिंग ऑफ जनरेशन Z? ओवर टू प्रोफेसर वर्मा.
तो इसके लिए तो आई थिंक आप जब जेन Z की बात कर रहे हैं तो शायद उनको नहीं पता होगा जो हम लोगों ने आपने याद किया था, बलिहारी गुरु आपने गोविंद ये बताया. सो द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ टीचर या इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ पेरेंट्स एज समबडी हु आर योर फर्स्ट टीचर्स, राइट? तो it cannot be stated any more than what we already know. It is extremely important. और अपने पहले कदमों से आज तक जब तक आप पढ़ाई के रास्ते पे नहीं चल पड़ते, स्कूल में हो या आज स्कूल से निकल के लोग जैसे मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी जयपुर में एडमिशन लेने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें उनका तो ऐसा रोल है कि इट कैन नॉट बी ओवरस्टेटेड. It is extremely important, extremely critical, and also many times what we find is, जैसा आपने बोला कि जो आप करते हैं, जो आप कर रहे हैं या आपने जैसे कपड़े पहने हैं, जो आपके विचार हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं प्रतिबिंब है आपका, जो आपने अपने परिवार में देखा या अपने गुरु, हो सकता है गुरु अच्छे न लगे हो, ये तो होता ही है कि कभी कभी ऐसा लगता है कि अरे ये कुछ ज्यादा हो गया, राइट? लेकिन आगे जाके ऐसा लगता है कि हाँ, कहीं ना कहीं जो आपको डांट पड़ी थी या आपको जो हिदायत दी गई थी वो कहीं ना कहीं गुरु या पेरेंट्स की वजह से जो आपको सजा मिली, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वो सही थी और आप निश्चित तौर पे कहीं ना कहीं बह गए थे, एंड उसको ठीक करने के लिए ही उस प्रकार का आपसे व्यवहार किया गया था. तो इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ parents, I don't think it's something that we really need to discuss, because I'm sure आपके जितने लोग वेबिनार सुन रहे हैं, they are very much aware कि not just upbringing but also जैसे हमारा सामाजिक व्यवस्था है कि पेरेंट्स ही हमारी सारी एजुकेशन फंड करते हैं, राइट? आज भी ऐसा बहुत कम देखने को मिला है कि आप अगर MUJ में एडमिशन लिया तो अगर आपने लोन लिया तो आप ही चुकाएंगे, ऐसा नहीं. पेट काट के तो माँ बाप ही चुकाते. तो वो अगर एक परिप्रेक्ष्य में उसको आप रखें, और बाकी जो हमारे जो परंपरा है उसको भी आप अगर परिप्रेक्ष्य में रखें, तो माँ बाप और गुरु, ये तीन लोग, they have an indelible impression on your personality and your career development. And of course we have to be very, very grateful to each and every one of them, and of course many other people who come on the way. ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि बहुत बार माँ बाप हो सकता है उतने पढ़ाई लिखाई के एरिया में जानकार ना हो, तो हो सकता है आपका कोई परिचित हो जो आपको नज करता है हमेशा कि नहीं, तुमको एक विशेष स्ट्रीम में जाना है, तुमको ये बनना है, तुम्हें ऐसा करके दिखाना है. So all those people, we have to be remain indebted to each and every one of them who show us the right path. And I think I'm sure all of your viewers are in agreement, I'm sure, between you and me, that they have a great role to play, and they continue as we live, right? The greatest role on our lives and our personality.
So you might be getting many proposals from Generation Z students as well as fresh faculty members. So normally what you see in a project proposal to select it, and I'll continue with you, sir. Professor Saswade, welcome, sir. Good to see you. Sir, may I request to President Sri Gopal Prabhu, sir, to formally do the formal welcome of Chairman AICT Professor Anil Saswade.
Okay. So good afternoon, and once again, so Professor Saswade sir, on behalf of the Manipal University, Jaipur. I have a great pleasure to welcome you and to this leadership webinar series, and very keen to listen to you on a very important topic like education for the Gen Z. So I once again, without any delay, so hand over to Puneet. Puneet, yeah, please.
So, sir, you have been a man of change. You have made lots of transformation in AICT during your last 5 years. Many schemes like SWAM and recently ARPIT. And many faculty development programs have been introduced, and it's quite effective, especially during this time of COVID, during this time of compulsive breakdown. The initiatives, the series of workshops and FDPs you conducted, especially on new subjects like IoT, machine learning, data analytics, and all. So, first of all, congratulations for all these initiatives. So, we look upon you as a young India. I mean, you are wearing this nice T-shirt, and this is really inspiring. एक घंटा लगा, लेकिन जीत अंततः सत्य की हुई. So coming to you, sir, how you conceive a new education system for Generation Z? Over to Professor Shubhet.
Yeah, when we talk of Generation Z for providing them higher education, the previous generations, Gen X or Gen Y, who have been in the system in terms of providing that education to Gen Z, I think they must be first prepared, and that change is very, very imminent and required. And that is why, as I said in the beginning, a couple of times, that our faculty development programs are a key. So unless Gen X and Gen Y, who are already in the system, are trained and they in turn take it forward, and some of you were already mentioning that the way we deal with our students today, that ये चल नहीं सकता है, वो हो नहीं सकता है, ऐसा क्यों try कर रहे हो? I think that language has to change. The change is required, that even though it is not possible, we never discourage them actually, and tweak with the idea if need be, and say that ऐसा करना नहीं है, ऐसा करने से शायद ये successful होगा. So the guy will try both what he feels right and what you have given him suggestion. So if you turn him down totally, either he will never listen to you, or he will follow only his path, and that may be not right path as well actually. It's not that he is always right also. So I think therefore understanding each other, a dialogue and synthesis of ideas is what is very significant and important, and this preparedness will come via faculty development programs in the variety of ways, and that is what we are doing. We have a series of them. Some of them are on universal human values and student induction program. We have on Atal Academies on AI, IoT, machine learning, deep learning, robotics, 3D printing, cyber security, and so on. And the third one on examination reforms, where the very essence that learning is not only through the classroom, and examination is not 3-hour test, but it can be outside the classroom in terms of projects, in terms of experiential learning, in terms of quality time which people spend amongst each other. I think variety of ways of identifying the talent and nurturing that. I think that is what we are trying to do through various seminars. And therefore, the new norm, which is likely to come after COVID-19 crisis is over and lockdown is lifted, there are two dominant changes which are likely to happen, and one of them is how education is imparted to our younger generation, that is Gen Z. And that need not be only in the classroom, and it has to be necessarily a judicious mix, blended mix of partly online and partly face-to-face. And what is that proportion of the blend? It depends on institution to institution. It depends on type of students that you have, type of infrastructure you have. The proportion can vary, but everyone has to fall in line. There is no way out beyond that, actually. That is what is going to happen in the future. And secondly, many things which we imagine are not possible and have been possible during these 3 months. We were forced. We were all the time thinking that meetings have to be in person. So today, none of the meetings are in person, or all of them are happening online. Then we were thinking faculty development program can only be in face-to-face mode. That we have implemented in a big way. Our inspections, AICT was so powerfully ingrained into that going to the college and seeing the facilities physically through your own eyes is the only way. But now through the eyes of the camera, we can see the same thing. I think that power of technology has been put to maximum use, and more than 300 new colleges and some of the older ones where there was a requirement of inspection, we have carried out. Some of them are of course pending, but everything using same Microsoft Teams. Today, I don't know why it failed for about an hour. So the handshake which we need, collaboration which we need is also visible here. Because Apple is a product of US, Microsoft is also a product of US. I think a good handshake between them is also necessary to make that smooth transition from one system to the other system, and that is what we have to learn lessons from out of all this.
So, मैं आपकी जो अभी वेशभूषा से है उससे एक चीज समझ सकता हूँ. You are a teacher first. You are a teacher by heart. आज का टॉपिक समझते हुए जो आपने अटैक चूज किया, जो कलर चूज किया, जो आपने कही कि we need to understand them, we need to go down to their level. वो कुछ हमारी बात समझेंगे, कुछ हम उनकी बात समझेंगे. So choosing a dress code of red color and T-shirt is a clear depiction that you are, offering a shake hand to the young generation.
AICT का logo भी है.
So, we are fan of your this simplicity, sir. And everybody is at ease can access you, and you listen, so curiously, and then you come out with some new ideas and solutions. This is wonderful, and especially it was really sounding impossible to conduct inspections through online, but seamlessly, transparently, you have done it. Hats off to whole team of AICT under your leadership. Now, moving ahead, the online is new normal, right? But हमारा जो मानव मन है वो एक दूसरे के पास बैठने से लर्निंग के लिए ओपन अप होता है. जैसे फादर के सानिध्य में हम बैठते हैं या मदर के सानिध्य में बैठते हैं या पेरेंट्स टीचर्स के सानिध्य में बैठे हैं या पीयर ग्रुप में जब हम जो ऑफलाइन लर्निंग की बात करते हैं, कैंटीन में है या लेजरली जो हम सीख लेते हैं, सो हमारे दिमाग के चक्षु जो है वो तब खुलते हैं जब हम एक दूसरे से इन पर्सन कनेक्ट होते हैं. So how do how it's possible to make a balance between online and offline or in person or learning through human interaction? Over to you, Professor Sudhir.
पहले आपने जैसे कहा 2 साल पहले ही UGC और AICT ने रेगुलेशन में बदलाव लाकर 20% of the courses can be used through our own Swayam portal, which is a MOOCs portal. ऐसा निर्देश जारी किया था. कई यूनिवर्सिटीज ने, कॉलेजेस ने उसको इस्तेमाल करना शुरू भी किया. So I think the beginning was already made, whether COVID or no COVID. So I think that is the first thing which we have to learn. And probably formally into the curriculum, 20% of the credits can be had is for the first time. I have seen also many US universities, either they are fully online, the entire degree is itself online, or the university allows these courses to be taken as a supplementary. It's not part of the curriculum. So I think we had a very bold decision which we had taken, and during COVID time, some of the meetings which we had in MHRD, हमने ये तय किया है कि ये 20 से 30 और 40% तक कैसे लिया जाए. So I think the blend is already visible. So I think in most of the programs, I think up to 40% of the blend is going to be allowed through online mode. It can be 0 to 40%. I'm saying 40 is the limit as on today in terms of totally education, which is normally face-to-face mode. But when it comes to the announcement by the finance minister in the budget speech itself, and subsequently recently when ministry also announced that 100 top universities in the country would be allowed to have an entire program, 100% program in an online mode. But there are two factors very, very important. One is top 100 universities. Now, how do we decide which are the top 100? Maybe a question which we have to answer, whether it is through NIRF ranking, whether it is accreditation score that they have achieved. I think some parameters will be decided, and if not 100, at least 50, 60 will be certainly be allowed to do that. But should it happen in all the programs? Or should it happen in only few programs? And this is another question which we need to address. As you rightly pointed out, many things we learn in the informal arrangements, in a canteen, in a mess, on a sports ground, while walking on the street. sitting in a garden actually in the campus. I think many times brilliant ideas come when you are in a different mood. We often say that many ideas come in even bathroom when taking bath actually. So I think therefore I think that space which is required, which can happen only on the campuses, cannot be lost sight of. So essentially we must have the brick and mortar campuses where students will come, maybe because of the social distancing or the physical distancing, which has become a norm and which may be required to be there for quite some time, maybe another 5 months, 6 months, 1 year. We do not know how we arrest this growth of infection amongst the public, and therefore maybe 30 or 40% students come to the class, remaining will take the classes online is one model. The other model is students' batches are distributed over a period of time, therefore half the batch will come in the morning, other set of students will come in the afternoon. This model will also emerge, and all learning, all courses need not be taught in the classroom. And this is another great thing which we have learned now, that we all the time we are thinking that syllabus is not covered. And many times when the question comes is slightly different from what is there in the book, students' normal complaint is this is out of syllabus. So nothing is out of syllabus. Whole life is our syllabus actually. And therefore we must be fully prepared for solving any problem that comes on the earth actually. And therefore that preparedness will come when you read more and more outside the normal textbook or the reference book which is assigned to you. And therefore this learning will not happen merely in the classroom. So many variety of small and medium-sized projects, maybe 2 days project or 1 week project. Innovatively, faculty members have to design and ask students to do that in groups outside. And maybe 4 or 5 students will distribute the work amongst themselves. Some people say someone will read some literature from some source, another one from another source. They come and have a lot of deliberation and then try to solve the problem. A lot of solutions will come. Then which is the most optimum? There will be a dialogue, discussion, the arguments, and finally someone will be victor, and then he will come and present that to the classroom. I think this is a thing which happens in life. In industry, no one is going to do things based on the memory that they have, and whatever they have learned in the college is not going to be applied in the industry. In industry, you will be required to look at a lot of design data books. You will have to refer to a lot of internet content. You will have to discuss amongst yourself and also amongst teams outside. A engineering problem, you may require a sociologist or a psychologist to be part of that, to tell how social stigma attached with that has to be overcome, or how psychologically people will accept or not accept. I think these issues also are part of the new products that are being developed or should be developed. And therefore, what students will learn outside the classroom is important. And therefore, syllabus is to be covered. This sentence actually is to be, syllabus has to be uncovered actually. So you open their eyes, you open their vision for looking at information beyond the classroom, and that when it starts happening, I think we always often say that lifelong learning, self-learning, I think that will start becoming the norm. And that is what is required, and therefore we can certainly continue with brick and mortar colleges and universities, but for that a lot of the online content in YouTube and SWAYAM, etc. is also required. And coming back to the brick and mortar, it doesn't mean only buildings. It is the campus environment. Therefore, the playground, the tennis club actually, or the art club where painting, music, dance, drama, all of this happen. That is where a very strong bonding, interaction, human to human aspects, they are learned by the students, and that is as significant as your curricular aspect.
So not merely it is only classroom activity or learning through digital platform is essential. More focus, equal focus should be there on sports, co-curricular and extracurricular activities. But that is a challenge that post-COVID, maintaining social distancing, or rather physical distancing, and conducting all such activities. So if you can please throw some light how to make a balance, keeping this physical distancing in mind and conduction of activities.
No, I had already referred to that in brief in your earlier question itself, so I can repeat for clarity. As I said, multiple models can emerge. One of the models is you call 50% of the students to the classroom. So instead of sitting two students in a bench, only one student will sit. So the physical distancing is maintained. Remaining 50% of the students will take the classes online from their respective hostel groups or houses, number one. And they can be rotated. So first 3 days of the week, this set of students will come to the classroom. The next 3 days, the other set of students will come to the classroom. So I think that is one model. And the second model could be the few classes may be divided into two parts. Like we always used to have tutorials. Although the classes used to be larger in size, in 60 or 80, the tutorials used to be of a batch of 25 or 30. Why can't we start taking all the classes in the mode of a tutorial? So a class which is designed for 60 accommodates only 30, and your timetable has to be so staggered that some students come in the morning, some students come in the afternoon, and still that physical distancing is maintained and everyone gets the same opportunity of having the classroom interaction. So this is another model. The third model could be, as I said, let all the students come, and they are divided into two parts, and one part is in the physical class. And if internet is not available in the houses of students, because not all students are hostel students, some of them come as day boarder to the college and the university, and therefore their homes may not have as powerful an internet bandwidth as is required for online video lecture based classes. And so why can't we put another set of students in a classroom where a large screen is kept and less students are again distributed there. So not necessarily in the hostel room, but in the college itself, one classroom, physical distancing is maintained and half the class is there. In another classroom, the rest of the students are sitting with, again, keeping distance and watching it on the screen. And next class, they will start, both will get opportunity to interact with the teacher as much as the other person. And I think these are very interesting models that are going to emerge immediately post-COVID. Whether they will remain permanently or not is a different question, but at least in the next 1 year, many innovations will begin. I've given some ideas actually. And lastly, what I said is syllabus being covered and uncovered philosophy. So you take half the portion only, distributed students being coming in smaller batches, and the remaining, ask them to look at videos, etc. in the various platforms that are available all over the globe, the entire internet. That means we used to say world is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Now education is also Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We can have a lecture of an MIT professor or a Stanford as much as an Indian professor's lecture can be seen by a South African student or a Malaysian student. So I think we have really become a true one family, and we distribute our resources, our knowledge sharing with each other. So with that being the norm, so I don't think half the syllabus can be learned through some other mode. And if I don't understand something out of that, I can always have interactive sessions in the classroom where I will get my doubts cleared. And then in some topics where teacher wants students to learn on their own, can also give a lot of projects, mini projects. And students will be made to struggle to learn that. That is the real way. What technology we are teaching today in the colleges is going to get outdated in another 4 years. So student cannot say that this was not taught in our Manipur Institute, and therefore Manipal Institute, not Manipur, Manipal Institute, and therefore I do not know, this will not be acceptable in the industry. So he has to get prepared in Manipal Institute of Technology how to create that learning environment and self-learning. And if that is there, that can happen in a variety of ways. And therefore, syllabus not covered questions should not arise hereafter. Actually, students should start learning something on their own as well.
Thank you, Professor Seswade. Just would like to mention here SWAYAM portal created by AICT. This is world's largest massive open learning platform, and it is totally free. भारतवर्ष से ज़्यादा भारतवर्ष के बाहर के विद्यार्थी, प्रोफेसर्स, लर्नर्स, दे आर एसोसिएटेड विद दिस प्लेटफॉर्म स्वयं. और अगर आपने अभी तक रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं किया है तो फिर क्यों देर कर रहे हैं? अभी लॉगिन कीजिए प्रोग्राम के बाद में swayam.org, और निःशुल्क है रजिस्ट्रेशन. बहुत सारे सर्टिफिकेशन के कोर्स हैं, जो कोर्सेज कंटेंट डेवलप किए गए हैं बहुत क्वालिटेटिव हैं, वेल इवैल्यूएटेड हैं. कुछ सिर्फ लर्निंग के लिए है, कुछ सर्टिफिकेशन के लिए है. और जैसा प्रोफेसर सैसबुद्धे ने कहा, अगर आप उस प्लेटफॉर्म से चीजें सीखते हैं तो उसके क्रेडिट अर्न होंगे और वो क्रेडिट आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी उसे मान्यता देगी. ओवर टू यू सर, यू वुड लाइक टू ऐड समथिंग?
I want to correct, otherwise it will always be misconceived. Swayam certainly is one of the largest platforms, not necessarily the largest. So I think we should always be keeping that in mind. Our vision is to become the largest, no doubt about it. But today it may be about within the top 5-6 platforms of the world. And in terms of number of users also, it is about number 3rd in the world. About 117 country students are using. Maybe some countries only 500 students are using. From some country 2,000, somewhere 1 lakh. But majority of the users are from India, and this is about 1 crore 20 lakh plus actually today. So I think it is certainly around that. More important about Swayam is it is created by our own faculty, and therefore the examples we deal with in the classroom, they are all. I often give this. A professor from Stanford gives a problem of operations research or transportation. He will talk about traveling from Los Angeles to New York or something. Our students will understand it much better without even going to the map and looking at it. So I think these are very, very crucial things where our students will be able to learn faster. And we are also translating all the content as much as possible in important courses into 8 languages to begin with, and subsequently in many languages, and subsequently in all the courses. But today we have taken up a task of about 138 odd courses of engineering in 8 engineering disciplines in 8 languages, and the courses selected are such that they are normally first year courses which are foundational courses for the development of this entire subject in the subsequent years. The subjects where a lot of failures occur in the university examinations because they are difficult for them. I think we have chosen such courses for getting translated so that we really help our students coming from rural areas, local medium, that is Hindi, English, Tamil, Gujarati, Marathi. They should feel empowered that they are also able to understand, and gradually they shift the gear and become proficient in English, probably better than Englishmen themselves. But to start with, that initial hiccup, what is there, that we want to solve through this translation program as well. I think I wanted to clarify this point.
So it was not, this is how I wanted to come up. अगर मैं ये गलत डेटा नहीं देता तो इतनी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन शायद वो एस्केप हो जाती. That was my trick.
आप बहुत चालाक हुए तो मैं जानता हूँ.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Your blessings are, motivating everybody whosoever comes in contact with you. सोने के साथ में थोड़ी सी रगड़ लग जाती है तो सब में चमक आ ही जाती है. Now coming to Professor Sandeep Verma, we were having interesting, for 4-5 questions we have covered. Professor Verma, are you there? So welcome back.
Yeah.
जैसा प्रोफेसर शैशपुर सर ने कहा, कोलैबोरेशन की lots of collaborations are needed. अभी की जो रिसर्च है वो मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी होना उसकी फर्स्ट फॉरमोस्ट डिजाइन है. So might be from one stream, social sciences, जैसा प्रोफेसर शैशपुर ने कहा, मनोविज्ञान से सामाजिक व्यवस्था के तौर पर भी उसके बहुत सारे एंगल हो सकते हैं. हम पहले केवल टेक्नोलॉजी और इकोनॉमी, केवल 2 ही एस्पेक्ट्स यूजुअली कंसिडर किया करते थे. सो वी वर डिस्कसिंग दिस क्वेश्चन, जब आपके पास कोई प्रपोजल आता है ग्रांट के लिए, टू टेक इट फर्दर, आइडिया टू डेवलप इट थ्रू कंप्लीट रिसर्च प्रोसेस. So what are the criteria to get it selected or refusal? Of course, this is not the job of SERB. There are some formats prescribed by them, and external agency, external people are doing it. But what are those? So that while writing a proposal, one should keep those things in mind, so that the expression should be crystal clear and it should be accepted to your agency. Sir.
So let me start by telling that I was telling you that SERB is one of the premier funding agency, one of the largest, if you will, which caters to all areas of investigation. तो अगर आप हमारा database अभी देखें तो we have close to 1 lakh investigators which are registered or who are registered with SERB to in many programs that we run. तो क्या होता है कि अगर हम एक भी प्रोग्राम लॉन्च करते, जैसे हमने टेट्रा लॉन्च किया, राइट, तो उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन क्लोज टू 1 लाख इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स को जाती है, और जो प्रोसेसेस हैं वो फेयरली वेल डिफाइंड है, बट टू टेल टू योर व्यूअर्स, लेट अस गो वन बाय वन. सो अगर आप एक हमारा प्रपोजल या प्रोग्राम ले लें, कोर रिसर्च ग्रांट, राइट, दिस इज हमारा फ्लैगशिप प्रोग्राम है जहां पर वैल्यू फिक्स नहीं है, राइट. एज ए मैनर ऑफ स्पीकिंग वो 80 लाख का भी हो सकता है, वो 2.5 करोड़ का भी हो सकता है, वो 4.5 करोड़ का भी हो सकता है. नाउ जब आप शुरू करते हैं तो सबसे पहले इन्वेस्टिगेटर को हमारे SERB ऑनलाइन पोर्टल पे रजिस्टर करना पड़ता है. फर्ज कीजिए वो मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी जयपुर में कोई नया नियुक्त हुआ प्रोफेसर है, उसको पहले रजिस्ट्रेशन करवाना पड़ेगा. उसके बाद हमारा एक फॉर्मेट अवेलेबल है, तो वो फॉर्मेट ले करके ये जो प्रोफेसर हैं ये अपने आइडियाज को आर्टिकुलेट करते हैं, जैसे ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या हैं, क्या हम डिलीवर करेंगे, मेथोडोलॉजी क्या होगी, नेशनल इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे किस प्रकार का काम हो रहा है, राइट. तो उसको करने के बाद ये ऑनलाइन अपलोड करते हैं. एंड द बेस्ट थिंग टू लर्न हियर इज कि हमारे सारी प्रोसेसेस पेपरलेस हैं. एवरीथिंग हैज टू बी अपलोडेड, और जो डाउनस्ट्रीम प्रोसेसिंग है प्रोजेक्ट्स की वो भी सारी ऑनलाइन है, राइट. तो उसकी एज सुन एज जब वो हमारे SERB पोर्टल में अपलोड होता है तो हमारे पास मेंबर सेक्रेटरीज हैं जो एक पर्टिकुलर प्रोग्राम एडवाइजरी कमेटी, फर्ज कीजिए वो मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग का प्रोजेक्ट प्रपोजल है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सब एरिया में, है ना. जैसे सर ने बोला 3D प्रिंटिंग का प्रपोजल है, सो वो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग मटेरियल्स और मैकेनिकल वाली जो सब कमेटी है पहले उसके मेंबर सेक्रेटरी के पास जाएगा. ये मेंबर सेक्रेटरी खुद भी PhD है और उनको अच्छी खासी नॉलेज है इस पर्टिकुलर एरिया की, तो वो एक बार सारा प्रपोजल देखते हैं. अगर वो बहुत ही फ्रिवलस प्रपोजल है, उसको देखने से लग रहा है कि ये प्रपोजल आगे नहीं जाना चाहिए, तो एक प्रॉपर ईमेल के साथ वो PI को बता दिया जाता है कि ये प्रपोजल जो पुराने हमारे क्राइटेरियाज हैं या जो क्वालिटी है प्रपोजल की वो मैच नहीं कर रहा, तो हम इसको आगे नहीं ले जाएंगे. क्योंकि हमारा जो सिस्टम है, आप फर्ज कीजिए मैकेनिकल में आपको 600 प्रपोजल आए, राइट. तो 600 प्रपोजल में से हम हो सकता है 450 प्रपोजल आगे ले जाए. तो वो 450 प्रपोजल जो मेंबर सेक्रेटरी है वो रिव्यू के लिए भेजता है ऑल ओवर इंडिया. तो 3 से लेके 5 रिव्यू हर प्रपोजल पे हम सॉलिसिट करते हैं, और उन रिव्यूज को लेके हम अपनी प्रोग्राम एडवाइजरी कमेटी में जाते हैं, जिसका जो चेयरपर्सन है वो बहुत प्रख्यात विशेषज्ञ होगा मैकेनिकल का. तो वो उसको सारी कमेटी बैठ के वो सारे रिव्यूज 3 से 5 रिव्यूज को एसेस करेगी. वो रिव्यूज प्लस उनकी जो विजडम है खुद की, वो देख करके वो SERB को क्या करते हैं, इन द डिक्रीजिंग ऑर्डर ऑफ एक्सेलेंस. जैसे फर्ज कीजिए 10 में से किसी प्रपोजल को 9.2 मिला, 8.5, तो वो डिक्रीजिंग ऑर्डर में हमें देते हैं, और जितना हम फंड एलोकेट करते हैं वहां पर हम उसको SERB देखता है कि कहाँ तक या किस लेवल तक हम प्रपोजल्स को फंड कर सकते हैं. सो साइंटिफिक और टेक्निकल कंटेंट ये सिर्फ स्पेशलिस्ट के हाथों में. SERB हैज नो कंट्रोल. वी आर सो ट्रांसपेरेंट, टोटली एग्नोस्टिक टू द आइडिया कि हमारी एक स्पेशलिटी को हमको बढ़ाना है या घटाना है. इट इज ऑल डिपेंडेंट ऑन द प्रोग्राम एडवाइजरी कमेटी एंड द एक्सपर्ट्स, और उसके बाद हमारे पास आता है और हम उसको फंड करते हैं. एक इसमें कैवियाट बस ये है कि अगर 80 लाख से ज्यादा का प्रपोजल है तो वो 80 लाख से 5 करोड़ तक के प्रपोजल एक एम्पावर्ड कमेटी में जाते हैं, जिसको हम चेयर करते हैं, सेक्रेटरी SERB चेयर करता है. और अगर उससे भी ज्यादा वैल्यू का प्रपोजल है, फर्ज कीजिए 7.5 करोड़ का प्रपोजल है, वो हमारे फुल बोर्ड में जाता है, जिसको हम जिसमें रहते हैं सेक्रेटरी DST है और भी अन्य मेंबर हैं. तो फिर हम उसको एक बार सुनते हैं, देखते हैं. कई बार हम PI को भी बुलाते हैं कि आप इस 7.5 करोड़ के प्रपोजल को हमें प्रेजेंट करिए. हम देखना चाहते हैं इसमें इनोवेशन क्या है, नॉवेल्टी क्या है, ट्रांसलेशन क्या है, कितना फंडामेंटल साइंस है, कितना अप्लाइड साइंस है, क्योंकि ये एक बड़ा पैसा है. तो उसको फिर हम पूरी तरह से जब हम संतुष्ट हो जाते हैं कि ये एक प्रपोजल वर्थ फंडिंग है, तब हम उसको फंड करते हैं. तो ये प्रक्रिया है पूरी SERB प्रपोजल फंड करने की.
Thank you, Professor Verma. I'm sure your teachings, your guidance will help many to write a proposal in a right way so that it gets selected. Fair chances are there to get selected if you are presenting yourself, your idea, by covering all the aspects. So there is one quick question. This is from Mr. Ravi S. Kochar. He is presently Vice Chairman South Asia Zone IMAC E-Society. He is retired from Railways The question is, Professor Anil Saswati, I'm sure you'll be able to throw some light on this. What training in practical skills should now be added in the curriculum for education of Generation Z in order to make them employable?
We had already started making internship mandatory for all the engineering students for the last 2 years. In fact, this was the need which was felt for a long time, but there were many doubting Thomases who were always saying that how can we provide internship to so many students? Of course, they are right. Today also we have great difficulty in providing internship to all the students. But in medical education, unless you go through an internship after your 4.5 year education, you are not allowed to practice. Whereas in engineering profession, you do your bachelor's degree and next day you can become a contractor, you can get into a job anywhere and then start performing. I think that was a great need that internships were necessary and we have introduced them. Right from first year onwards till the fourth year, either in one full semester in maybe third year or fourth year, you send a student for internship in industry, or you can stagger it down in 3 summer vacations of about 1.5 months to 2 months each. So both models are possible because depending on university's curriculum, the requirements, I think, and also industry's requirement. Recently, I was in Pune and some of the industries said they want large number of interns from diploma. But they do not want them in summer vacation or winter vacation. They said our production, which is the manufacturing capability, is at its peak somewhere from the month of say August, September till October end, and many products are in the market in November during Diwali, and some of the products come out in the Christmas vacation, that is during New Year Eve. So I think huge production capacity build-up happens during August to say October, November, and that is the time when we require a lot of interns. They can really get training also, because that is the time when the machines are all in full swing and operational. And therefore, if you send us in April, May, when nothing is happening, I think what will they learn? And also, these students who come, not only they learn, but they will get stipend. We make use of them, because we can't have a temporary employee for 3 months. Whereas students coming in and going out in the process, win-win situation for both. I think this demand was said. Why can't our academic institutions change their semester for instead of starting their classes from August to say October, let them come for internship during that time and run the courses the remaining time. So I think this kind of flexibility which is required, probably only some autonomous institutions will be able to do. We have opened it up and many avenues have started opening up. This is one part. The second part is, as you rightly said, in the industry, many things are learned, and smaller the industry, in fact, learning is better. So if you get into, say, Maruti Udyog or Tata Steel or Tata Motors or Infosys, the organization is so big. So you will be put into some section and one mentor, and he will only probably talk about only his bureau. Whereas in a smaller setup, maybe MSME and small scale industry, right from getting in materials, the planning of the job, then execution of that, and then finally production, quality control, and then dispatching. All of that happens in that small unit. So I think you will get a holistic view of how industry performs in that. And therefore, my appeal had been all the time that because I didn't get internship in TCS or Infosys, don't cry. You will get better opportunity in a startup or in a smaller place, actually, possibly. So I think that is what we started engaging, and today nearly 40,000 small and big units are onboarded, and we have a huge internship portal developed in-house. And only day before yesterday, we had launched a portal, both HRD Minister and Minister for Housing and Urban Affairs, and all the urban local bodies, they are going to provide internship. That means small town to the smart city, each one of them have a lot of possible opportunities, whether it is routine matters like electricity, water supply, hygiene, health, roads and all that. But some of these things where you require a lot of monitoring, students can create apps for them. Students can create a lot of value to those organizations as well, and at the same time learn them. And they are ready to give stipend. So I think this internship business is going to create truly employable engineers. And why employable? The ones who will be able to create employment. And therefore, these students will also be possibly the creators of the startups and become entrepreneurs.
Right, sir. This Tulip platform, I think this is the name of the platform, Tulip platform. I was attending that live session. Another platform was created last year, that is in the name of NEET. So if you can help us to understand the role of that platform and how it is helping our students.
NEET stands for National Educational Alliance for Technologies, and this was an innovation in terms of normally whether it is MHRD or AICT don't deal with organizations where there is a cost involved because there will be a lot of questions asked. So we devised a very robust mechanism. The very simple reason is big industries may give pro bono some of their products. But when it comes, as I said, to startups and all that, they themselves have difficulty in surviving. They will not be in a position to offer free products. So we thought over this idea, and then we said we will enlist those applications from all sorts of companies and let them give their information in two formats. One of them is confidential, which is actually their own brand name, product, etc., which is not known to the reviewers. And the rest of the part is actually open, where the actual outcome of that product is narrated. So we will give only the second part for evaluation, blind reviews, which we say in many cases. So based on that, who are found to be having a lot of value and content, such products, then we will look at whether they meet all the requirements of the laws of the government, whether they are tax paying or not. And finally, we actually engage in checking the product. Whatever they had claimed in the part 2, is it really feasible, happening or not happening? And the nature of products, interestingly, were all AI-based, artificial intelligence-based, personalized learning tools. So most of them had a category of initial testing of a student. If you join that particular product, then you will be asked some queries and questions, and based on that, what is your standing in terms of that subject? So say machine learning. How much do you know? If it is data analytics, how much of mathematics you know, how much of significant statistics you know, it will be testing it. And after that, it will guide you, direct you to learn more and more content, which is also provided through the platform. And they will keep on testing intermittently and guide you through. By the end of, say, about 5 to 6 months, you become an expert in that domain. And all these 30 products of 16 companies were all such products, which were enlisted on the portal about 6 months back. And there is a cost associated. Each student has to buy that. Some of them cost about 4,000 or 5,000 to some of them costing 8,000, and one or two of them are costing as high as 40,000 bucks. But one of the conditions which we had imposed was for every 4 seats procured by students, 1 seat is to be given free of cost for deprived sections of the society, be it economically poor or SC, ST, and OBC. I think we had a social, commitment also in place, what is known as CSR in a way indirectly, and therefore this platform became slowly popular. But the number of takers were still small. In the COVID times, half of those products, they were all offered free by those companies, and therefore there was a quantum jump. Then there are non-NEET selected products. Many companies started saying that, please, we are also ready to give free of cost our product. And we had challenging time to enlist such products which are really useful. 49 of them are available in the non-NEET also. In NEET there are 30 products. In non-NEET there are 49 products, which are all similar products where you either get certified, you either get knowledge in certain domain, you get expertise in some domain, you are getting tested. All of these are now currently free of cost. And at the end of the COVID time, maybe some of them will come on board with some charges, but 25% seats will be still available free. So what I'm trying to say is all the futuristic technologies, we have selected 9 domains, right from AI, machine learning, IoT, deep learning, AR, VR, you have robotics, 3D printing, blockchain. All of these are available in these platforms, and students can really learn them and become not only employable, but become creators of startups.
Thank you, Professor Seshbudde, for adding this social justice angle to the scheme. Usually we make a scheme, on merit basis only. We may ignore, this particular angle, or that doesn't come to our thought process. So that is how, for last 2 years, AICT is also emphasizing, giving more emphasis on value-based education system, human value system. So I think the charity begins from home. So it is really a rightful, well-needed initiative from AICT to have 25% seats to the needful section of the society. I have received this thanks from Mr. Ravi, who asked this question. He has responded wonderful. Did he teach logic? This is the reaction of the question asker. He has extended thanks to you, sir. Thank you very much and this was a perfect answer. So now coming to Professor Verma, to you, tomorrow is about cyber physical system, and we are talking about Generation Z. So if you can give some guideline, I'll come to you, Professor Sazmuddin, with the same question. To begin with, Professor Verma, a roadmap to address cyber physical system, no matter whatever studies a student is going through, and developing a digital campus. So what is your take on developing a roadmap on a digital campus?
So let me start by cyber physical systems. It's an upcoming area. It's a very exciting opportunity that has been conceptualized as a national mission by Ministry of Science and Technology, and close to करीब 4,000 करोड़ रुपए इसके लिए प्रावधान किया गया है. So with 4,000 crore rupees, we have started this national mission on cyber physical system, where we are looking at these interconnected, embedded systems which connect to physical systems. For example, Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, and many of these technologies which relate to deep learning, artificial intelligence, to many areas which are touched upon by us in our day-to-day life. So those technologies are to be interconnected to these cyber technologies, and this is one of the premier focus for next 5 years that is going to be part of DSC. So what we have done here is, so far we have chosen many technology hubs. They have already been awarded. So बहुत सारी IITs और ISC Bangalore और other institutions को हम लोगों ने through a nationwide call हमने technology innovation hubs create किए हैं. Now we are on the path of creating what are called as application hubs, which the applications could be in the domain of security, application could be in the domain of agriculture, energy, justice. So there's a whole lot of areas that are available where cyber physical system is going to be connected to these specialist areas. तो ये जो connect है, इसको हम support करेंगे, and the idea is, the hope is that our expertise in information technology, our expertise in artificial intelligence, machine learning can be used to create difference in very many sectors जो हमने अभी point out किए, agriculture, energy, security, so civic spaces, smart cities, all that is going to be falling under the cyber physical system mission. So one can imagine जो आज के students हैं, generation Z है, जो college के लिए निकल चुकी है, जो technology oriented courses कर रहे हैं, they will have a good chance, good possibility to contribute to national building. So not only the regional problems, we are looking at interaction into national missions, which are very, very critical to all of us, plus the global dominance of India that would come through our niche technologies that are produced and cultivated within India. So ये है हमारा overall approach cyber physical systems का. और अगर आप उसको फिर you talk about the digital learning space में, if you go to very many specialist websites or specialists that has spoken about, but 3 points जो हमने अब तक हमारी जो assessment में important है. First thing is that we have to look at service providers. So Professor Sazmuddin was pointing out about smart learning methodologies. I am looking at it from an angle, and I'm sure it is open to discussion on this forum, is, for example, आज हम शाम को घर पे बैठते हैं, we try to watch a show on Netflix, right? Yeah, Amazon Prime. what I want to put forward is it possible for us to have a corporate service provider for these digitized courses? Swayam is doing an outstanding job. Let us put it that way. But what I'm trying to think about is a live streaming, so that I am sitting in front of my big screen TV and I'm going to choose basically कि हम कौन सा कोर्स पढ़ना चाहते हैं या कौन सा वीडियो देखना चाहते हैं. So स्वयं एक low bandwidth कंप्यूटर के लिए हो गया. Is it possible to have a Netflix, Amazon like service provider that can offer these videos, courses on demand? I can go through a menu, I can choose. So that would be one technology I would like to look at. Corporate AICTE या corporate MHRD interface that is going to bring your DTH like system, right? Dish to home delivery of educational content. That is going to be very important when we try to sort of re-envisage or reposition ourselves in terms of digital learning. Second would be जैसे हम Google, जैसे आज आपको ये देखना है कि आपको मान लीजिए artificial intelligence in therapy या in imaging या medical imaging अगर आप, तो you have to go to Google. So जब आप Google करते हैं artificial intelligence medical imaging, zillions of pages come up. What I would like to sort of point out, and it has been also been brought up by other specialists, is कि can you have a digital learning content search engine? So the search engine which is like Google, it is going to be so specific for digital content ताकि जब बच्चे कुछ देखना चाहें, students कुछ ढूंढना चाहें, they are directly guided toward the digital content rather than going through hundreds of pages. Slowly they are trying to find out ये अच्छा है कि वो अच्छा है. So can India have its own digital content or academic digital content search engine which will just collate, it will just collate academically useful sites where you have these pages, where you have these videos, so that a student is not wasting time in going through these famous web engines and you end up being somewhere else, right? अब चलो थोड़ा सा ये देख लेते हैं. No, if you have a parental lock, you have with this search engine. So this is the other thing I think it is very important. And जब आप जैसे आप Google search करते हैं, right? So it through artificial intelligence it narrows down your search. Next time आप जब search करते हैं, so is it possible for us कि अगर हम एक particular topic को search कर रहे हैं, so in future, during the course of my searching, can in real time the search can be so focused with the help of deep learning, with the help of new algorithms, that we get to our desired site in a much better fashion. So ये हम कर सकते हैं, ये India कर सकता है because of our strength in information or in ICT or information technology. And the final thing I would like to tell is what Sir was talking about internet facilities or learning at home or online learning. जैसे हमारे घरों में, बहुत घरों में internet facilities उतनी robust नहीं है. So आप अगर आज learning management systems देखें पुनीत जी, so if your connection is broken, then आप उसको recover नहीं कर सकते. जो normal learning management systems हैं, अभी एक नई technology आई है, नई तो नहीं, हाँ कुछ सालों पुरानी है, which is called as XAPI. Or some of you would know about this, right? It's called as Experience Application Interface Programming. So, इसमें क्या है कि अगर आपके पास low bandwidth है, आपके पास internet connectivity नहीं है या आप offline हैं, so the online courses that you take, the online content that you study, it is recorded in smaller packets. और जब भी आपको connectivity मिलती है, it sort of accumulates and tells you how much you have read so far in terms of your online studies. So ये नई technologies को भी हमको लेके आना है. It is not going to be enough in foreseeable future कि आप सिर्फ पढ़ लें, but the mentoring and monitoring is also important. So these are very many ideas are there. I mean, I'm sure AICTE and other specialist organizations have much more knowledge, much more experience. They would do certainly what is needed by the nation. But here are my 2 cents worth, basically, what could possibly be adding up to our efforts, which are magnificent already. Back to you.
ऐसा कहा जाता है कि आप अच्छी किताब पढ़ लें या फिर अच्छे व्यक्ति के साथ 1 घंटे बातचीत कर लें. तो मुझे लगता है कि जो बाद वाला ऑप्शन, आज 2 किताबें पढ़ने का जो मौका मिला है, इतना कुछ सीखने समझने का जो मौका मिला है, आई एम श्योर everybody who's watching us is being benefited, और जो लोग बाद में इस प्रोग्राम को, जो हम अमर डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म पर अमर हो जाता है, हम कहते हैं कि डिजिटली कुछ आ गया वो अमर है, तो जो वीडियो हो या तस्वीर हो, तो प्रोफेसर शहज़बुद्दीन आपने जो आज टी शर्ट पहनी है वो अमर हो गई है. So I mean, especially जो आपने डिजिटल कंटेंट सर्च इंजन की बात कही, मैं प्रोफेसर शहज़बुद्दीन आपके पास आता हूँ ये बात की सिफारिश लेते हुए. आपने स्मार्ट इंडिया हैकाथॉन, विश्व का सबसे बड़ा हैकाथॉन जो पिछले 3 साल पहले शुरू किया, और इस बार बिकॉज ऑफ कोविड-19 ब्रेक, कंपोजिट ब्रेक, वी कुडंट स्टार्ट विद, अदरवाइज वी कुड हैव एग्जीक्यूटेड बाय नाउ. माइट बी अभी उसका एक अलग तरीके की शेप में होगा, वो फिजिकली आस्किंग एवरीबॉडी टू कम टुगेदर, माइट बी ऑनलाइन होगा. उसमें अगर हम ये डिजिटल कंटेंट सर्च इंजन की प्रॉब्लम अकोमोडेट कर सकें, तो जो हमारे अभी नीडफुल एक्टिविटी है डेवलपिंग डिजिटल कैंपसेस, उसमें कहीं ना कहीं एक सार्थकता निश्चित तौर पर आएगी. नाउ कमिंग टू यू, योर टेक ऑन रोड मैप फॉर अ डिजिटल कैंपस कवरिंग साइबर फिजिकल सिस्टम्स. ओवर टू यू प्रोफेसर शहज़बुद्दीन.
Yeah, thank you. I think Vermaji, you are brilliant in terms of cyber physical systems, the way you narrated what is all about, what is the budgetary provision, and what are possible areas in education. In fact, it's a powerful tool. In fact, cyber physical systems will be the future, whether it is AI, IoT, use of all of them. Not only in the education field. I'll give you a few examples. He has already given examples of education content being searchable engine, etc. IIT Kharagpur's National Digital Library is already doing some part of the work. I think content which is in the form of PDF files and documents, they are highly searchable, and the content which is relevant to you is available at your fingertips. That is already happening. When it comes to video lectures and all that, I think some challenge still exists, and we need to go through that. And probably because searching through the audio and video is not so easy as the written content. So I think some work is required, and certainly the idea of using this as a problem statement for Smart India Hackathon makes much sense. But when the cyber security systems word is coming up, we are all watching Mahabharata today. So I thought of like Dhritarashtra is seeing the war today through Sanjay. So he is narrating to him, and Sanjay is also sitting in the room, but he is able to see that. Probably the cyber security systems of the tomorrow are able to watch and manipulate all the things from a distance. Actually, that is what is happening in IoT. Your car driving, by sitting at home, your wife is sitting in the car and you will ask her to drive, the car will take off actually. And before coming home, a refrigerator being kept on or off, or the micro oven will be on. I think variety of applications are quite visible. But one of the very powerful things which will happen is through blockchain technology. Actually, blockchain is related with all of this, and whether it is in the education sector, whether our degree certificates and verification of that, our teacher certification, the CR, the confidential reports that we write, or self-assessment reports we write, some of them are personalized. Same comes with the medical health care. So my all records of healthcare, right from my childhood till my age of whatever, 70, 80, 90, are all recorded somewhere, and I am entitled to share with my own personal doctor, and others will not be able to see it. So robust security in place, and that is where it is possible. Then it is in terms of transport, which vehicle is moving where, which goods are moving where. I think that is where the technology will be enabling us. Police force, criminals, those who are clean sheet people, I think giving of passport or allowing somewhere, not allowing somewhere, and in terms of security, agriculture, which products are to be produced and how these products are to be moved. I think all of this are going to be the order of the day in the coming years, and therefore the newer campuses, the digital campuses which you talked about, should have elements of all of that in the campuses. So if these applications are to be created by our students when they graduate and go out, they must see the flavor of that while they are in the educational institute. And therefore, whatever systems exist in the colleges or universities, maybe in IITs or NITs or any university or a general college, whatever is possible. See, all of them may not be able to put in all of that. So there is a mess. So how much food is wasted? How do you, where from the material is coming regularly? How do you link with that? when they come to the classroom by eating what type of food they are drowsy and what type of food they are very active in the classroom. From there onwards till the use of energy, whether are we using a sustainable energy, that is solar, etc., as a compensatory to the electric grid, or are we using sanitization and all what is required now in COVID times, and which locations? These are hundreds of possible problems which can be created in a digital campus. And I'm talking about not just digital, but digital, smart and environment-friendly green campuses. I think that should be the order of the day. So a student who gets experience through all of this, whether water is recycled in the campus, and there are no problems in that, for gardening purpose or for toilet, if the water which is already used is going to be recycled. He carries this message when he goes out to wherever he goes for a job. He will try to implement that technology actually, and therefore the digital campuses, not merely digital in the sense that there are a huge number of sensors and they're tracking many of these activities on one part, but how green can they be, how environment friendly can they be, how energy, resources to be used are going to be used as much as less as possible. I think these are the challenges which we must address in the digital campuses. And our Chhatra Vishwakarma Award for Campuses takes care of all these issues. Institute which is green, it does not mean only there are plants being planted, but how you use technologies which are green, whether it is from the point of view of the wastage that is generated, how do you recycle that, how do you produce energy out of every aspect of that. I think that is where we have to land up. And if we train our students in all of this, and that is what is the future, our students will go out and use these technologies in their respective domains. Wherever they go, they may go in the government, they may go in the teaching profession, they may go to a corporation, they may go to a multinational company. I think the training should be done in the colleges and universities.
So one last query from our audience. This is a student. Should a student go for internship in every summer? Professor Saswati.
I have already said in the beginning, it all depends on university to university and based on their curricula. So, for example, in whatever I have seen, most of the IITs and autonomous colleges, they have a very clear 2 months plus vacation in the summer. So it is very easy for sending students for 2 months in the summer vacation. But I have seen also universities and ordinary affiliate colleges where examinations are spread over such thin timelines that hardly they get 15 days vacation. So where is the possibility of going for internship? And for such people, I have been advising that you compress your curricula in a manner that 1 full semester you keep free then in that case, either in the 6th semester, 7th semester or 8th semester of your 4-year engineering degree program, allow students to go for full 5-6 months at a stretch. Both models exist, so I think depending on where you are, what is your type of institution, you may use either of these models.
So now it's time to conclude. Chalte chalte, Professor Verma, what is your message for Generation Z?
I would like to keep my message simple, that have discipline in your life. This is extremely important. Without discipline, at least I have not been able to achieve anything. I would not be able to achieve anything. You be true to your profession, have discipline in life, and just aspire higher. Every time you aspire higher, you try to reach for the stars, it is likely that you would succeed and you would bring, we have confidence. As educators, we have confidence that we have best friends, and you would be able to bring laurels not only for yourself, your family, but for our country. So discipline, dedication, and diligence is something I would advise to Generation Z. Back to you.
Thank you, Verma, for making things so simple. A wise man makes things so simple. और भाषा कमाल की है, मैं आपको कॉम्प्लीमेंट करना चाहूँगा. इसी तरह अपनी मातृभाषा में आप बोलेंगे. हम अक्सर ये सोचते हैं कि सिर्फ एक ऐसी भाषा, कड़क भाषा, कॉम्प्लेक्स वर्ड यूज करने से हम लोगों को इम्प्रेस कर सकते हैं, पर ये मिथ है. दोनों शीर्षस्थ नेतृत्व हैं देश के, और कितनी सादगी, कितनी सरलता है उनके व्यवहार में, उनके आचरण में, उनकी सोच में, और वो बात उनकी पॉलिसीज में भी रिफ्लेक्ट होती है. थैंक यू प्रोफेसर वर्मा फॉर बीइंग विद अस. नाउ कमिंग टू प्रोफेसर सचबुद्धे, मैं आपसे व्यक्तिगत तौर पर दो चीजें रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं. एक तो डिजिटल दान की अपील तमाम लोगों के साथ में कि हमारे पास बहुत सारे डिवाइसेस हैं जो अनयूज्ड हैं, सही है, लेकिन हम यूज नहीं करते क्योंकि हर 2 साल में एक नया मोबाइल फोन खरीद लेते हैं, 3 या 4 साल में एक लैपटॉप या कंप्यूटर खरीद लेते हैं और वो कहीं ना कहीं जंक के फॉर्म में पड़ा रहता है, उसे डिस्पोज ऑफ भी नहीं किया सकता, वो एनवायरमेंट ठीक भी नहीं है. तो किस तरह हम, जैसे आपने कहा कि आपने 25% सोसाइटी के डिप्राइव्ड सेक्शन के लिए स्कीम में कुछ ना कुछ रास्ता निकाला. So when everybody's the whole learning process is getting shifted to digital platform, how can we help our friends, our youngers, our brothers and sisters? So I request you to make an appeal. जिनके पास में भी सरप्लस है वो लोगों को दें, वो घर में पड़े रखने के लिए नहीं है. और दूसरी रिक्वेस्ट पर्सनली and of course a message for Generation Z, if you can please provide a roadmap document for all the institutions to how to become a digital campus. So that will be a great help for everybody rather than doing empirically deriving some solutions. Over to you and a message, of course, Professor Sachbudhe.
पुनीत जी, जो आपने पहली बात जो कही कि सब लोगों को डोनेशन करने के लिए अपील कीजिए, मैं काफी अभी दिन से वो ऑलरेडी कर रहा हूँ, तो और एक बार करने में कोई हिचकिचाहट भी बिल्कुल नहीं है. इनफैक्ट ये आइडिया पहली बार मुझे ये मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ पेट्रोलियम के अपने मिनिस्टर जो है धर्मेंद्र प्रधान जी, उनको और उनके साथ 3 और मंत्री है, इनकी एक सब कमेटी है. तो पोस्ट कोविड हमको कैसे एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस में और कनेक्टिविटी वगैरह से लेकर क्या क्या करना चाहिए, इसके लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक ग्रुप ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स को बनाया है. तो उन्होंने हमको आपके आइडियाज पेश करने के लिए आइए ऐसे बताया था. तभी से मैंने शुरू किया कि आज हम जब ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन आफ्टर लॉकडाउन स्टार्ट किए हुए थे, तो आई वॉज रिसीविंग कंप्लेंट्स फ्रॉम सेवरल इंस्टीट्यूशनल स्टूडेंट्स दैट in our locality the connectivity is so poor that we will not be able to do the online education. So us time say, and some of the poor children, they were saying that we don't have any devices, how can we look at them? I think that is where this idea cropped up, that middle class and higher middle class, all of us in our houses and homes, at least there will be 6-7 sets. Each person would have bought in the last 4-5 years at least 4-5 sets, and must be 7-8 sets might have been bad. Some of them may be still in operation, and some of them which are possible fixable, and you fix them up and then create about 7 to 8, and either directly donate to those children who are not having this kind of a device, or the other idea we had was go and deposit them in the colleges and university libraries. And library, like they have their books, actually they can have a variety of mobile phones, and they can issue them to the fresh students, those who cannot afford them actually. And all the smartphones will create a level playing field amongst the students in terms of learning. The second part is many of these companies have so much of bandwidth available, so why can't they give under CSR free data about 100 GB per year, something like that, for those who cannot afford it. We all talked about giving up subsidies for gas. So something similar, those who can afford should buy the data. Those who cannot afford for them, we should provide that. As I said, 25% free in the NEET portal, exactly something like that. All these ideas have been shared. I think the government will certainly make some announcements on that. I'm sure I appeal again on this platform to all of including me, whoever has whatever telephones unused, lying idle, search them and then go and hand it over to wherever possible where it is put to right use. Second part is you asked to create a manual for digital campuses. As I already said, it is not merely digital. I want a green campus, environment-friendly campus, a digital campus along with all these facets. We have created already a small booklet, and I can share to all the institutions, keep it on the website so that people can start designing their own campuses based on all of this. And the last word which you said, that advice to Gen Z, Gen Z does not require any advice, and that is the first thing which I have learned. In fact, I can only give some suggestion, the suggestion is, in the long run, what pays is hard work, honesty, and integrity. I think keep these three very, very important, like Trishul, honesty, integrity, and hard work. I think rest will follow. So you don't have to worry about the outcome. The outcome will come automatically, and the success will follow you rather than you following the success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Saswade. So, it's time to conclude the conversation. So, it was wonderful listening to both of you, sir. Thank you very much for being here with us. And initially, there was some technical glitch. But after all, this is how the spirit should be. जीवन में बहुत सारी समस्याएं आती हैं, लेकिन ओवरकम करके फिर उसे आगे बढ़ना चाहिए. So now it's time to vote of thanks ceremony. So may I request Dr. Kamath, Registrar NUJ, please over to Dr. Kamath.
Thank you very much, sir. Distinguished panelists and the participant, let me take this opportunity to congratulate all for successful conduction of this webinar. I am sure your deliberation would have been a definite impact on Generation Z. On the behalf of Manipal University, Jaipur, I would like to thank AICTE Chairman Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe for enlightening us with his words of wisdom. Professor Sahasrabudhe is known for his several initiatives for academic, curricular, core curricular activities, entrepreneurship, research, and good governance. This was very much evident from his lecture today. I must say we are really benefited, sir. Also, thank you for converting AICTE from regulatory mode to the mentorship mode. I am also grateful to Secretary SERB Professor Sandeep Verma ji for his insightful thoughts on this occasion. Managing 1 lakh odd researchers and investigators with a seamless online process is really commendable. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your valuable time with us. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Professor G.K. Prabhu, President MUJ, for his all-round support in conducting this webinar. Most importantly, sincere thanks to Professor N.N. Sharma, Pro-President MUJ, for conceiving this idea to conduct this webinar, which is very apt in this era of digital transformation, and all his team members, especially Directorate of Admission, headed by Professor R.K. Gupta, for handling this webinar smoothly and effectively. Finally, I will thank all the participants who spare their time for listening to this very good lectures. Thank you one and all.
With this, we come to the end of the first webinar in the Leadership Webinar Series. I have few announcements to make. E-certificate shall be issued to all registered attendees. You will receive the e-certificates over emails, similar to how you received your registration confirmation and joining links. The email will have the link to download your respective certificate. These emails shall be sent by tomorrow evening. Before we call it a day, let me have the privilege to announce the details of the next webinar, which is going to be held on 13 June 2020. The topic of the webinar would be Sprouting Innovation and Startup. And our distinguished guest would be Professor Ramanan Ramanathan. He is Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission, and Additional Secretary to Niti Aayog, Government of India. And Shri Jeet Kumar, Co-founder and CEO, In Time Tech, Global Software Solutions. So please do join the webinar. Thank you once again. Namaskar.